Welcome back to BluOcean Talks. Today we come to you in video format here in Singapore, and in the studio today we have Jacky Tan here. One of our superstars based out of our Singapore office, and the one and only Avichai from Los Angeles, who is visiting us here in Singapore.
Special guest appearance.
Great to be here. It's fun.
So this is a different format, and we have to get used to that a little bit. So, Jacky.
Yes.
We have you here today because we want to talk a little bit about your experience in helping clients with cloud-based security solutions. We did an article about this a few weeks ago.
Yep.
And Avichai being with us here today, who is one of our directors and head of technology in our company, heavily involved in this process. So before we jump into some questions, Jacky, why don't you tell the audience, what is it you actually do?
That's a very good question. There's the typical reply.
Don't overdo it. Come on, get down to it.
So my job is actually just to handle the commercial aspect for BluOcean itself. So meeting clients, getting to know clients' requirements, and then at times trying to influence clients to switch to new technology, and then eventually get the client to sign on the dotted line.
Right. So but basically it's really about helping them be successful, helping them with their security.
Correct.
Right?
Understand their challenges, pinpoint, and then providing solutions to them.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's not just trying to push solutions or pushing sales, but it's really about building those relationships, building those long-term relationships, make sure the solution is right for them and that it's working for them, right?
I think at BluOcean, it's never about pushing solution.
Right.
It's never about pushing product. It's all about understanding client and then providing solution. That is our value proposition, our unique selling point.
Right.
Yeah.
And one of the things that, and Avichai, you can back me up on this, is that when we started the business, we wanted to be really future looking in terms of the technology. And you were really an advocate in finding newer technologies. And a lot of them were cloud-based platforms, right?
Right. I think that coming from a different industry into the facility security industry, in the beginning, it was kind of a shocker, to see what's going on in the market and to see how it's the same product, same technology, a little bit tweak on the features, but no change in the architecture design of a product. And that's really where, when we started BluOcean, we just saw a little bit of the opening of what we call the cloud-based solutions today, but in general, kind of having a remote server or a cloud-based server, I would say, is similar categories where that is new. That was new, at least at the time. It's still new today. I don't think that it's widely spread out, especially in our type of clients where we're mainly geared towards Fortune 500 companies. And I think that what we've seen is this kind of level of trust and adaptation as well on the vendor side, meaning cloud-based technologies came in with an idea that is closer to IT concepts and the way that different products are consumed. And we see how the feedback from the market kind of created a change and adaptation. And we also saw that different cloud-based solutions kind of took their own path in a way based on the clients that were consuming their products, and said, okay, for example, if we take OpenPath and their way with going with mobile readers and some different access control systems with your hand swapping on a reader and different small functions like that, I think it's really based on the client's needs. And that's actually what I would like to hear from Jacky specifically in our market here in Singapore.
Hold on, before we jump into that, can we just recap quickly for those that really don't know, what are we talking about here? What is a cloud-based security solution, and how's that different in total? Can we just spend just 1 minute on that, just so we just make sure we're all on the same page?
Okay.
So probably I'll start.
Ahead.
So typical security solution, the client will have to invest in their own server, manage their own server. But when it comes to cloud, everything is a security as a service itself.
Right.
So basically, you pay for a subscription. The manufacturer will actually provide that as a service to you.
Right. So we're talking about CCTV cameras and access control solutions.
Actually, not only that, there's like sensors. Right. There's a lot more. Like what Avichai mentioned just now. It's really on what client consume and the client's feedback that the manufacturer will create more and more products.
Right.
Yeah.
So the servers are on the cloud.
Right.
Right.
There's no need to maintain the software to servers and patching and all that.
Correct.
They are, and usually it's consumed. There's more subscription based. So it's by number of users and so forth. Anything to add to that?
I would say also the fact that it's managed remotely is a key piece to the puzzle. I think that what Jacky mentioned about sensors is very important, that in the end of the day, you're able to add into an existing ecosystem different capabilities, which in the traditional security solutions, you might have to have additional products and create an integration between them. Here, it comes by the vendor into one package.
I'll also add to that, there's this whole technology brought newer players to the market. Mm-hmm. So it's not just the older, more traditional players came up with a cloud-based solution. It's actually brought a lot of newer players to the market. But they approached it differently. So they brought in newer features and functions, and they were thinking about it in more of a modern way. So for example, the fact that you can use your phone as a credential was something that came up through those companies. So that was interesting as well.
In fact, actually, based on my experience, I feel that it's the new players that's leading the traditional players along with the cloud solution, because typically you don't fix what is not broken. So the typical players, your old school infrastructure, security system, they are all sitting on the fence itself. But when they see that the cloud solution is actually taking over, as you can see, more and more companies are adopting on that. Actually, they are starting to jump on board the bandwagon as well. So they are actually switching their own solution and providing as a service also.
Yeah, I think to add to that is that, and it's a little unfortunate, but in the end of the day, the bigger players that are the traditional security vendors, when they are trying to make that move to the cloud, the success rate is not so good. And I think that the main reason for that is when you build a system for 20, 30 years where you're adding more and more patches onto it because the core of the product was already set, right. Then all of a sudden you go to you have to start from scratch. And then even if you decide not to create as a service model, but to create more of I'm going to have a virtual machine on a cloud, it still has
different architecture.
It requires many changes in their system, which it's already kind of too late. So some of them already tried to create new products on the cloud, and it didn't really work out. So I think it'll also be interesting to see how that situation is going to be solved.
So what are some of the main brands that we work with here in BluOcean?
You mean on cloud?
Yeah.
We have Motorola. Motorola acquire OpenPath, acquire Ava. And so they actually create their own ecosystem right now. We also worked with Verkada. Verkada used to be, 3 years ago, they used to be just a CCTV company. And then right now they have their own access control. They have their own sensor. Mm-hmm. And then Rhombus started off from CCTV. And then right now they also have their own access control. We also have Brevo. Mm-hmm. Brevo is also one of the solutions that is quite popular right now.
And then some of their more traditional OEMs, they have cloud sort of solutions as well, right? Like Vigilon,
Lenel have Mercury Panel also have some Phoenix and whatnot. Yeah.
Okay, great. So what are some trends we're seeing here in Asia? Obviously, just to put it out there, cloud-based solutions were initially targeted towards small and mid-sized companies, users, and now we're seeing more and more larger companies starting to roll out as well. We saw the adoption first in North America and it's kind of slowly coming up here. So can you elaborate a little bit on some of the trends that you have seen over the last couple of years?
I think a lot of companies that are having small offices in the region, they will actually prefer a cloud solution because it's very scalable. So they can open the office and then in the event, if it's not doing very well, they can close it off because it's all subscription basis. So the amount, the capex is actually not very high as compared to a traditional security system itself. So I can see that cloud solution is taking up pretty well right now in both like retail market as well, because you have stores whereby the main shop front is all their products. They don't have extra space for their server room and whatnot. So cloud solution is actually very, very suitable for retail.
Okay. So would you say that there's a trend of growing here in Asia? That's
definitely. So I've been in this industry for the past 3 years. So what started off as something new, like what Avichai mentioned just now, is still new right now, cloud solution, but we can see the adoption rate is actually picking up, and then it's actually spiking as well. That's why a lot of this manufacturer, they're adding more and more products and offerings to their solution. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Who would you say at this point in time, what type of industry or facility is not a good fit for a cloud-based solution these days?
Probably banking, probably data center, because of their traditional security requirements is much, much higher. So they will not, and they might not adopt this kind of solution. Yeah.
Right. So just a little asterisk on the security requirements, like, because I think this is
it's a misconception.
It's a conception that we've been challenged, and we've been putting it out there for years since we started BluOcean, that cloud-based solution does not mean that it's less secure.
Right?
And that's something that obviously you're right when you say banks as the first one, because I would also say the similar banks or healthcare, stuff like that.
They don't want information to be leaked.
They also have compliance. They have compliance regulatory issues too.
But if we kind of if I put on the cyber hat, I would say that it could be sometimes way easier to hack a specific facility on their server versus hacking AWS or Azure or Google Cloud in that case.
But I would say also large systems, large campuses, or when there's like hundreds of doors, the subscription model seems to come out more expensive sometimes.
Correct.
Yeah. On the cloud.
Yeah.
So if you have one particular site whereby there's like hundreds of cameras, hundreds of doors, then subscription model might not make financial sense.
Doesn't make sense yet. So the market really the model hasn't really, it's not up to where it needs to be for those large.
Yeah, but let me ask about that. If, let's say, we're talking about that scale, right? And there's a subscription for access and subscription for video, so it becomes expensive. But if we're talking about that facility would have a requirement to have an integration between two different local systems of access and video, the cost of integration, the cost of maintenance.
Not today, really. There's platforms that can have all that together. It's just the CapEx and OpEx issue. The OpEx just becomes too expensive on those larger projects.
Right.
Because for traditional system, this kind of integration is a one-time cost,
right,
as compared to a yearly subscription basis. So yeah, it might not make financial sense if like one campus, one site have multiple, like a lot of access control.
But I'm curious to see how that's going to develop, because obviously, guys, in 20 years, there will be no more on-premise. It's all going to be cloud-based. So how is the business model going to catch up to those larger projects? That's interesting.
I'm not sure that it's going to vanish, because, like, something that I'll give an example from a different trend that happened in IT world, where you used to have computers, PCs, and then there was, okay, let's create servers. So server is centralized, different concept, different architecture. And then from servers, there was like, okay, instead of having in the server all the storage, let's create storage machines. Mm-hmm. So let's store the data somewhere else, and it would be aggregated and centralized, and all the servers will be talking to those storage units. But then something else happened where the performance started to catch up on the servers. The processing capabilities grow to a place where all of a sudden the storage became a bottleneck. So the opposite happened. We took the centralized storage and we put it distributed on all the servers. So you could see that in the end of the day, it's kind of based on what is the system able to deliver. If we will see a situation where the internet, the speed is not responsive enough to the processing capabilities, like if we take video analytics and we take the whole future, and maybe we should have a longer conversation about that, how that comes into the game. But when we see the AI catching up and being more consumed by our clients, it might require to have everything locally if you want to get a fast response.
So do you have a forecast? What do you think? How do you think things are going to look like in the future?
Again, I think that it's based on the requirements. I would say if I need to kind of give a little vision, I think that with generative AI, where in the end of the day, you are going to be using different resources that you have in your ecosystem, in your facility, to create more knowledge and insight that's relevant to your facility, it will require some localization. And that's why I think that it won't be fully cloud-based. I think there will always be that need of having something local.
Okay. Do you
agree with that? The prophet has spoken.
This is all recorded, and we'll check this in a few years.
For sure. But do you agree with that?
Actually, I do agree that the no one solution can replace the other. So it's really depending on the requirements of the client itself. So I don't think cloud-based solution will just take over on-premise solution as a whole.
So it's not like analog video to digital video.
Right. It's not changing the standard of the world.
Okay. So next question then, sort of on that line, is what are the pros and cons that we see with such systems?
Yeah, I think we kind of touched part of it. Yeah. But if we kind of want to bring up some ideas, I think that, for example, the reason why Jacky was saying that cloud-based solutions could fit the smaller facilities or smaller setups, let's say, is because the needs are more straightforward, right? So if I have a gym, for example, and I know that in the gym I need access control, I need videos, I need sensors, specific sensors, I need maybe several video analytic capabilities, and then you have a cloud-based vendor like Rhombus, for example, that has all that packed up and set for you, and it's just like, why do I need to hire someone to design my facility secure? Like, I could just have them install, set it up, and I'm done. And I could manage it from my apps. I could manage it from myself without having this special, unique knowledge around it. So that's, I would say, one scenario that I would think about where it's a pro to have cloud-based solutions. A con is, as we said, when it becomes more and more complex. When you're talking about, you want to have synchronization between sites, for example, between regions. Or, for example, something that we see in China that's one of the biggest barriers for China using cloud-based solutions is, where is it hosted? So compliance-wise, and I think that it's not only
compliance-wise is an issue. Yeah.
You need to be stored in your region. So I think also in Singapore there are some laws around that. But I don't know.
Yeah, it's more about where it could be offshore, but it's how it's stored and where it's stored is important. China is unique in the fact that they want it to be in country.
In China, that data center
is a bit unique. But do you agree with those pros and cons? Do you have anything to add?
Actually, just now what Avichai mentioned, that multiple sites, actually that, in my opinion, is a pro.
Right.
So for the administrator, for example, right now I'm an administrator, everything is on the cloud. So everything can be accessed through my PC or my mobile app. So it's actually much more easier for me as an administrator to manage all the system across the whole region and on a single platform.
Yeah. So I was kind of imagining more of like a setup where you have multi-sites where there's like hundreds of employees, right? And you want to have a strict access control policy. I think it gets harder with cloud-based solutions, but that's kind of my hunch, you know?
I think from the what's that called, administration perspective, everything, all the access can be set on the system itself. So that is actually much more easier to manage. And then from a commercial point of view, I feel that the pro is that you're actually shifting your capex to opex. So that in the accounting world is actually quite a beneficial for the P&L.
Ron, maybe give a minute about the advantage of doing that. I know we've talked about it in the past.
So CapEx is a capital expense, and OpEx is an operational expense. And basically what it means is that from an accounting perspective, operational expenses is something that happens like on the time, and then a capital expense is something you might depreciate over time. Now, some companies are set up in different ways, and some of them they have tax advantages this way or that way, and but some companies, they might have a better, or they can more access to an operational budget, or they might have more access to an investment budget, and that might impact some decisions for a larger company. But at the end of the day, it depends on the company more than they may not have a lot of investment, and therefore the operational capex comes in place as well. I would just add one more pro. Excuse me. It is a bit easier to install and to configure and to get all that ready. The larger you take the really like the big enterprise level Linnell systems, stuff like that, there are complicated systems, a lot of functions and features. And from a cost perspective, it's faster and easier to deploy some of these cloud-based solutions sometimes.
Actually, the configuration for the cloud-based solution is something like you're going into a fast food restaurant. You just cherry pick what you want.
So, plug and play kind of.
Well, but by the way, for companies like us, that might take us out of business.
True. But that is why I come into the picture, for me to educate the client on what they want. Yeah, precisely. I need to sell myself. Right. So another pro that I can think of, it slipped off my mind. Oh yeah, when it comes to the security, so like what Avichai mentioned just now, it's much easier to hack in to a private server right now, because the IT might have a lapse, they might not be updated to the latest patch and whatnot, but all this is actually outsourced to the manufacturer. So it's on the manufacturer's hand to do the constant update. So the security level is always
well, it's also on AWS or Azure, which is obviously they have better security than most companies.
Yeah.
Okay, so what any pitfalls or potential issues or challenges that we could talk about during the design phase, the pre-sales phase, or during the project phase? Anything you want to highlight?
For cloud solution, it's very dependent on network itself. So if your network is having issue, you might have issue to view live itself. It's not that the recording or the access control is down. It's just that the records will not be syncing out to the cloud itself.
During the setup phase or during the operational phase?
Operation phase.
Right.
So in the event, they need live information, then that is something which is missing.
But that's true also for on-prem. Like if you have an enterprise system, you have, using any large system across a region and you want to access that, you don't have network, you're not going to access that either.
True.
But what about the pre-sale process and the actual implementation of a project? Anything you can add to that?
Pre-sales, actually not that much. Pre-sales is, if the client is open to cloud solution, then it's much easier to move along with the solution. So it's more of educating the client before they actually come to the solutioning portion. So getting clients to shift their mindset from on-prem solution to cloud solution. So that is what we do during the day-to-day interaction we have with the clients, to educate clients on the pros, like what you mentioned, pros and cons on the solution and what is the trend right now, and then try to influence them for their next project.
I remember you said something interesting to me the other week, that one of the pitfalls, the challenges we see sometimes is that we're doing a project and we're doing actually doing all the implementation and setup and everything, but the site does not have internet connection yet, and therefore we cannot configure the system.
Correct.
And so there's a need to coordinate that in advance with the related professionals to have an internet connection with the site, not when they start their business, but way before that, so that we can get the security online.
Because when usually our handover will be like a week before the office go live or the site go live, but the network is only a couple of days before the office go live.
So that needs to be part of our planning. That's where you need to come in place and educate the client.
Usually we will have all this schedule, but sometimes
it doesn't happen.
Yeah, it doesn't happen. Things. Yeah.
Jacky, do you see any stronger connection between the security team and IT when there are installations on the cloud versus on site?
I think I'm not in the position to answer that question, because a lot of this kind of coordination is done during the project phase itself. So when it comes to the pre-project phase, actually a lot of time we just communicate with the security team itself. So the security team will actually do their internal liaising with the IT team.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, I think that would be interesting maybe to bring someone from inside to kind of give their insights about a process of implementation of a cloud-based solution.
Okay, cool. Any advice for companies that are considering moving to a cloud-based security solution?
If not now, when?
That's
I think it's always good to try out in the small facilities rather than just diving in with the like a 100 doors, 100 cameras kind of site. Yeah. Try out something small, see how the solution work out for the company itself, and then slowly scale up. Yeah.
Right. Maybe an interesting point that you could touch a little bit is, as we know, a lot of our clients come with a preset requirement of what they want to set in their new project, new facility, if it's an upgrade. How do you think that we could come in and share more about that messaging regarding cloud-based solutions? And like, how do you see that process from your point of view and your role?
To influence this kind of solution, you must really start talking to client like way in advance, probably 1 year before there's even a project coming up. So it's like a day-to-day interaction with the client itself to tell client what is out there, what might be suitable, understand client. It's really more about understanding client before you can propose something. So if not, then it's all about product pushing already. So for us in our line of business, it's all about consultative selling. So understand client before you can actually propose something. Yeah, I think I answered.
So just to add on to what you're saying, I think another option clients can consider if a client is considering cloud-based is really before you jump into it, you can do is set up a little demo environment within your company, within a client's company. Pretty much all company, I know we could help our clients, but the vendors are open to this as well. That's a very easy thing to do. You get a little demo license, and you set it up and play with it and see how you like it. You don't have to spend a lot of money to, you can try it out first. Do a pilot project even. I know a lot of the large, really big multinationals, they won't just change their technology. Of course, they're going to do a pilot project or a few and, get a level of comfort with it.
You also need to know what is the end state that client wants, because like there's different cloud-based provider right now. So different cloud-based provider, they have their own strong point. So by understanding what client wants to achieve, say for example, 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road, you can propose a solution which you feel that is more suitable.
I think that's a great point. I think that on that point is one of our advantages as BluOcean is that we've been following closely everything around the cloud-based solutions. We've been on top of it before it's been even used by clients. So when we go to different events like ISC or different areas, we're always measuring and looking into where are they going, what's their strategy. We have communication channels with the vendors. We're always on top of that. Therefore, I think that we are the professional house to come in and ask us, okay, which one is the right one? Because they all have very similar UIs, functions, pricing models. It's very similar, but how do you make that right decision?
Take advantage of us.
Take advantage, exactly.
Yeah. In fact, I dare say we grow with the cloud solution provider because Avichai, like what you mentioned, you always go out to ISC and then you interact with the cloud provider you find something interesting, you bring it to the team will evaluate the product, and if it's suitable, then we started understanding more and they started recommending to clients.
So that's a good segue. Guys, what do we see happening in the future? What kind of interesting new features or technology do we see, in this evolution? Obviously, AI is going to play some sort of role. But talking to the various vendors and seeing what's happening, any forecast or anything you guys feel that's going to happen over the next 5 years?
You want to start?
I do want.
Okay. It's a very big question.
It is.
It's a lot business driven. I would say, first of all, my first answer is that these vendors, in the end of the day, everyone needs to make some money. And it's business driven decisions. It's not just being passionate about technology and implementing it, because facility security is falling behind compared to other industries or other
from a technology perspective?
From a technology perspective. And it's just because the decision makers are not so flexible on making those changes, therefore the technology growth is not that dynamic.
They're more conservative in many ways.
They're more conservative in their decisions. So I would say it's kind of hard for me to predict around that. I do think that something that's been talked a lot, and we still haven't seen how that falls out in the end, but the security department is going through a change, and that change is going to come one way or another. And we've always identified that the surrounding of where it can merge with is departments such as IoT, such as cybersecurity, such as IT in general. So the facility security department and personnel is going to change in those kinds of directions. And that's something that I see that will come together with the evolution of products.
Interesting. And what about AI's role?
AI is always in the mix. AI is everything. AI is in our phones, is in our computers, and everything that we do today. So that's not going anywhere.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anything you want to add?
No, you lost me.
You're just about now and in the moment, are you?
Yeah, I'm always about now. So Avichai's job is to find the technology.
Right.
My job is to try and sell it.
Awesome. So we're going to wrap it up. Any last points you want to bring up?
I think first of all that this is
pretty cool.
it's a great first session that we do in video and face to face.
Thank you for bringing it up, Avichai. I will say that I was the more conservative one. I wasn't sure how to do this, and I was a bit reluctant. And Avichai twisted my arm, and I'm happy.
So I think it's important to all our listeners to give us that feedback. If it's worth it to keep on going with the videos, we are going to try and do a few more episodes in video. But feel free to share comments, reach out to any one of us or anyone in BluOcean and say, listen, we liked it. That would be great for us for our feedback. And any other topics, just bring it up.
So actually next week, Avichai and I are going to be in India, and we're going to do a couple recordings there as well. One with the country head of Avichai, which will be interesting.
Very.
And with our one of our managers there in India as well. We'll be talking about what's going on in India in terms of in our industry and with our clients there, which we're really looking forward to that. One more heads up, we do have a booth in the up and coming data center world. It's coming up in October here in Singapore. So if you're coming to that show, seek us out, come talk to us, meet our people. We'll have some of our project managers on the site as well.
When's the date again?
It's October 9, 10, 11, I believe. We'll be sending out some announcements about that.
Yep.
It's a really big one. So that'll be cool. And, come see us there. And if you need a free ticket, reach out to us. We'll be happy to share that with you too.
Excellent.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
See you soon.